20 minutes is the scheduled race duration. And don't forget, the second group of cars go off 10 seconds after the first. Lights go out, but a problem for Mike Hilton. His car does not get away very well, so yellow flags were waving, but luckily he did get going fairly quickly, and everyone managed to avoid him. And then the Twin Spark Cup cars will get their race underway as well. We'll keep an eye on them as they go along. There they are. They've got their race underway now. But for the lead of the race, and surprisingly, it's Jamie Thwaites leading, but it's the man on wet tyres, Andy Page, that's up to second place.
So it's the two Juliettas from very different eras who lead the way. Meanwhile, a fantastic start from Toby Broom in the Twin Spark Cup. From the back of the group, he's up to at least third position as they go through Hollywood and challenging Richard Ford, I think. James Ford is the one who's made a good start in that second group. And Andy Page are now starting to lose out as they go through the old hairpin. Through into second position goes Tom Hill, and up into third position has come Mike Hilton. So as we suspected, Andy Page now losing out, and he's just hoping the weather changes during this 20-minute duration. Yeah, he's sort of almost fallen to the back of the group now, hasn't he? Coming through now is the Simon Scott car. As Tom Hill is challenging Mike Hilton, the two of them side by side, and Hilton has got through, so to reclaim the second place he held on the grid. Tom Hill's car, a V6 class car, not in the modified class, so unsurprisingly it has been passed there by that unusual 4C. Hill, though, leading in the V6 class, and further back, that's Stacey Dennis in number 30, the only car in the Power Trophy class, just ahead of that Mark Skeggs GTV. Yeah, that's right. The Mito's up to fourth. That started at the back of the group, basically, after a time yesterday. There it is, 127. Simon Scott in the 2-litre turbocharged car, prepared by Jamie Porter, going well, claiming positions for the long-term Alfa Romeo racer, Simon Scott, by possibly having his first outing in this car. 2018 machine, so about the newest car on the grid. And that has got from what was 7th on the grid up to 4th, and now challenging for 3rd on the inside of Tom Hill's Alfa GT. But can't go through. And if anything, the track probably looking drier than it has at any point in the day, because it has actually started to brighten up for the first time on Sunday here at Donington. Yeah, there is a little bit of sunshine beating down on it now, which is helping to dry the track. On the live stream, we're watching the number 75 car, which is Tom Hill, and he is being caught by the driver that was on the front row yesterday, wasn't he? Simon Scott, number 127 in the Mito that's often been driven by Riccardo Lascelli. Here, a bit further back, you've got Andy Page, he's got Skeggo just behind him, and just behind him is Stacey Dennis, who is leading the Power Trophy Championship coming into this weekend. She's won that class in all of the races so far this season, as Tom Hill has in the V6s. And there is Tom Hill being caught still by the Mito of Simon Scott. Toby Broom, who did make a good start, is not showing up, has completed the first lap. No, and he had those issues yesterday as well, so he may have lost Toby Broom. There he is. Well, he's out of his car and now getting back into it again, presumably because he's going to get back out of it again. There's nothing like being decisive. I thought possibly he was going to get back in because we're going to try and tow it away, but I think we'll just wait until they've got a vehicle on scene to be able to do that. So within the Twin Spark Cup, we'll watch this battle for third position. That's between number 54, Adrian Norman, and number 78, Edward Robinson. Norman in the 147, Robinson in the 156. And yesterday, it was Robinson that finished ahead of these two, and he's going to try and get it through now into third place within the Twin Spark Cup. The two of them are side by side, heading down the back straight in towards the Fogarty S's, and we've had that change for third place. It's Robinson now through to third, ahead of Adrian Norman. Yeah, that's right. So Edward Robinson, who got his first podium in the class yesterday, back ahead of Adrian Norman, who himself has also had one class podium in the Twin Spark Cup. The first flying lap of the race from Jamie Thwaites is a 1 minute 50.2, which is some ways off the pace that the Alfa Romeo Championship managed yesterday. Side by side here for 6th and 7th position. There's Andy Page and Mark Skeggs, and it's Page on those wet tyres through on the inside. I imagine they're not going to be at their optimal in these conditions, and Skeggs fights back now in that Expedition GT Championship car. Tries to get back through on the inside, but he couldn't quite do it at the corner curves, and Stacey Dennis there making a 3-car fight for 6th position overall. Yeah, Jamie Thwaites 8 seconds off of the dry lap time from yesterday, and he's lapping no quicker than Mike Hilton or Simon Scott at this stage. They're all lapping in the mid 1 minute 50s. Oh, and Page, again, like he was in an earlier lap, slower off of the old hairpin. So Mark Skeggs goes back through in that ex-Tony Super GTV. And Stacey Dennis following just behind in her Alfa Romeo 147 with the 1.4 litre turbocharged engine. And the Bianco prepared car is challenging perhaps on the inside of Andy Page into Coppis, but she couldn't quite make that stick, so it's just to remain in 8th. It looked like in the background James Ford closing in, possibly on the best tyres of all in this sort of the track tyres that the Twin Spark Cup cars run onto. They've got grooves, but maybe not as many as the full wet tyres of Andy Page, and that's helping James Ford to actually be the 6th quickest person on the circuit at the moment.
Yeah, it's quite a long way clear of his brother Richard, who's the 2nd car within that class right now. So they are making their way all into the yellow flag zone. That's because, of course, of the car of Toby Broom that's being recovered, stranded as it was in the gravel trap at the Melbourne hairpin. So no overtaking through that part of the circuit, of course. There you can see the marshal still working to get Toby Broom's car out of the way in the background of shot for those following on the live stream. Meanwhile, does Stacey Dennis try and make a move? And her car looks a lot bigger than that of Andy Page. I'm sure that's a generational thing, because there's a couple of generations difference between Andy Page's machine and that of Stacey Dennis. Yeah,
it's noted the 147 on the screens. It's a Giulietta, isn't it, that Stacey Dennis is driving, I think.
Yeah.
So a newer car, and obviously, and then so another Giulietta on the grid as well. The older car of Andy Page, so they will go side by side through Hollywood. Meanwhile, Simon Scott did a slow lap. I'm not sure if that slow lap brought him into the pit lane or whether he's continued in the Mito, but he's dropped to 5th position on our timing screens. And out of view from the commentary box today is the pit lane, so can't quite tell if that's where he headed. Someone that has headed into the pit lane, surprisingly, is Toby Broom, who we thought that car was... Oh, there's the Mito, so that isn't in the pits, which is good news if the car is okay, but not good news for Toby Broom. He's had a bad day here at Donington Park. He's had a pretty decent season up to now in that number 33 car that we just saw there in the pits. He's had a win, he's had 5 seconds and a 3rd as well within the Twin Spark Cup, but no finishes today. There's the leader though, Jamie Thwaites, not pulling clear to the extent that he did yesterday, but he's just gone much quicker on that lap. The previous lap was a 48, that lap was a 1 minute 44.85, so a much quicker lap there from Jamie Thwaites to pull out his lead over Mike Hilton to 6.8 seconds.
Yep, so there is Thwaites threading his way through the Craner curves, then down towards the old hairpin. This is lap 5 of this 20-minute race, and he is making his way now past the bridge and up to Schwantz Curve and McLean's, the right-hander. Goes through there now. It's nearly 7 seconds clear of Hilton at the start of the lap. Hilton's last lap was a 1:47.75, his personal best, and Hill in 3rd place also did a PB, a 1:53.3. But all of this just means that the gaps are expanding between the cars in the first 3 positions in the race. Dave Messenger is in 4th spot. Mark Skeggs 5th. Stacey Dennis is in 6th position at the moment.
Just looking at Mike Hilton, the ex-Caterham racer, who's racing this Alfa Romeo 4C. Meanwhile, the Mito is in strife, and Simon Scott's brought that car into the pit lane. So that car can be quick, but a couple of events this season, and Donington Park is one of them, it has been rather unreliable, unfortunately. But good to see the car. It's had podiums in the past. I think it's had wins in the past as well, but that's not happened this weekend. So I'm sure we'll see it out again, and the team at Alfa Workshop will be working hard on it to solve the issues they've had over the last couple of days.
Still a nice little scrap going on here for 5th place between Mark Skeggs and Stacey Dennis then. Andy Page having dropped back and struggling on those wet tyres that he's on what is now an increasingly dry track. So it's Skeggs in the yellow Alfa GTV, the Giulietta for Stacey Dennis, who threads her way through the Fogarty S's and out onto the straight that leads down to the Melbourne hairpin.
Stacey Dennis has been racing in the Alfa Romeo Championship for 10 years or so now, but this car, I think, new to her pretty much for this season, the 1.4 litre turbocharged Giulietta. And she seems to go better when the conditions aren't perfect, because she had that outright top 3 finish at Cadwell Park when it was wet. And she otherwise in the dry race she's had a 6th, an 8th, some 3 9ths and a 10th as well.
Toby Broom has got back out into the race and is doing battle now with number 78 Edward Robinson, but he's 3 laps behind him. So although this is a little bit of a battle on track at the moment, it isn't actually a battle for race position, because Broom is several laps behind. There is the race. Oh, we just in the shot, the background shot there. Race leader Jamie Thwaites, number 40. So he continued to lead to another PB last time round, which was a 1:43.28. So actually only just over a second outside the time set yesterday. As things stand, I wonder if we can actually see that improved on yesterday's lap time, and possibly even therefore a reduction in the lap record. Yeah,
he's just going to lap this group of Twin Spark Cup cars as he blasts across the line on Goodyear slick tyres.
He's still in the 143s, so not yet down at the 142s as he was yesterday.
Is James Ford going any quicker than he did yesterday in the Twin Spark Cup? Done a 1:59.18. Yesterday he was in the 56s, so actually he's further away from those dry lap times. And if anything, Jamie Thwaites is the closest of anybody, isn't he, to the lap times we saw in yesterday's race, I think.
Through the fogs, yeses go Skeggs and Dennis in 5th and 6th position in different classes, of course. We've then got James Ford in 7th place, leading the Twin Spark Cup. Is 8 seconds clear of his brother, who in turn is nearly 20 seconds clear of Edward Robinson and 5 seconds clear of Adrian Norman in that class. So often the Twin Spark Cup has given us very good battles, but that's not the case so far in this one. And the numbers haven't quite been there in the entry-level class into this Hitek Electronic Materials Alfa Romeo Championship. Hopefully that's something that the organisers can look to change for next year. There's been better numbers in the front half of the field, including in the modified class this season, but sadly not quite as many Twin Spark Cup competitors. But hopefully that trend can be reversed for future seasons.
This Alfa Romeo GTV raced in the British GT Championship in 2003, so 20 years ago, at Brands Hatch. It was a non-finisher though, and I think it was actually the only start the car did have in the championship. But good to have Mark Skeggs campaigning it in the Alfa Romeo Championship again now, and going better today, isn't it? Up in 5th position, just set his personal best lap on the last lap, a 1:54, and he continues on what is lap 7 of the race.
Over the line goes the 3rd and 4th place cars in the Twin Spark Cup. For the 2-litre cars. Here is Richard Ford now. He is doing a battle for overall position with Andy Page here. Andy Page in 8th place. Richard Ford in 9th position in the Twin Spark Cup car. Andy Ford is in a modified class car. Oh, and a problem for the 2nd place man here. Mike Hilton is into the pits, number 70. In the 4C, so it looks like he is pulling out of the race, I'm afraid.
And this is quite dramatic for the modified championship as well, because Mike Hilton comes into this race 23 points ahead of Jamie Thwaites, and Jamie Thwaites is on terms to score 20 points more, I think. So going into Silverstone, I think nothing will separate Mike Hilton and Jamie Thwaites for the modified class championship. I don't think they'll be winning the overall championship this year, but that's a real drama. And Mike Hilton has finished every race he's started, so the 4C that's been so reliable appears to have a problem. So if they can get that car back out, he'll still be able to score good points. But if that is a retirement, that is a big swing in the championship.
Yeah, the modified class has actually been the most competitive this year in terms of different winners and different podium finishers compared to V6, which has been won mostly entirely by Tom Hill, Power Trophy by Stacey Dennis, and James Ford, I think, had won all the races he'd done in the Twin Spark Cup.
And they've had more entries too, generally. They've had 10 entries in the modified class this year. V6 has had 5, Power Trophy's had 5, and Twin Spark Cup's had 8. So sort of half of the competitors we've seen this year in the modified class are here. It's a shame Ian Stapleton and Barry McMahon were not here, because they would have taken that battle to Jamie Thwaites, I'm sure. And hopefully they will be back for Silverstone, because that would be a good way to round off the season.
Yeah, that's on the Grand Prix circuit at the end of October, the day after the Burkitt Relay, which is the 6-hour race put on by the 750 Motor Club every year on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. So Jamie Thwaites continues to lead in number 40, that TCR Giulietta.
Yeah, ex Aidan Moffat car that won one of the first ever TCR UK Championship races earlier, 5 years ago, something like that. So not many Alfa Romeo TCR Giuliettas are campaigned around the world, so it's good to have that car here. There's one in the IMSA Sports Car Championship.
There's Mike Hilton back out on circuit, so he was of course in second position, but he's got back out on track, and as you said, Josh, he could potentially pick up some useful points here. He's still showing on our timing screen in third place, if that's correct.
But the other cars haven't crossed the line yet, so I think he'll lose.
The line, he will go back down the order, won't he?
But he can only fall as far as where in the modified class? Fourth, and I think fourth is 14 points, so instead of losing 20 points, he'll only lose 6 or 7. So that's a big differential if he can get the car to the checkered flag. So it's we've got an endurance race later. This has got a bit of an endurance feel to it, so with a car limping around trying to get to the checkered flag.
Yeah, 4 minutes of the race to go, so not too much longer for him to do so, but clearly not all well with that beautiful Alfa Romeo 4C.
So that means Dave Messenger's up to third, the driver who we believe raced cars and bikes yesterday at 2 different venues. He raced at Mallory Park in an enduro motorcycle race, and of course here at Donington Park in the Alfa Romeo Championship. He looks set to finish in third overall, which I think would be his best result of the season. That's a V6 156 GTA. He's had a 4th, he's had a 5th, he's had a 6th, but he's not finished in the top 3 overall this season. And as long as that car gets home, the Darnell's run Alfa Romeo 156 GTA of Dave Messenger should be good for an outright podium.
So there is the 78 car of Edward Robinson, still third place within his class, the Twin Spark Cup class. And he is ahead of Adrian Norman still.
Toby Broom has just set the fastest lap within the Twin Spark Cup. So taking a point, potentially very important thing, away from James Ford, who's battling with Tom Hill for the championship. So Toby Broom is very quick. Unfortunately, the car for some reason stopped for about 10 minutes.
There's Dave Messenger now, who is, as you say, in third place. He's just coming through to complete his 9th lap. So Jamie Thwaites has a lead of over a minute at the moment, a 1 minute, 1.84 second lead. And the gap from Thomas Hill to Dave Messenger, just waiting for our screen to update. Yeah, that's another 29 seconds basically. So a minute and a half covering the first 3.
Yeah, so that winning margin we had yesterday might be even larger today, with still a further 2 laps to go as Jamie Thwaites sets the fastest lap of the race. Is that faster than yesterday? 1 minute 42.10. Yeah.
It is, so a new lap record for Jamie Thwaites. The previous mark was before yesterday was a 1:42.76 set by Tim Lewis. That's now been well and truly wiped from the record books. Different class structure then, of course. Within the Twin Spark Cup, we've had a lap record as well. I think that will be yesterday's lap time for James Ford, 1:56.94 as the lap record within that class.
I think he did have the lap record before, didn't he, as well, but that was in the 59s. Jamie Thwaites, I think, was just about to lap the third place car of the fourth place car of Mark Skeggs, so down to 3, I think, on the lead lap. Just got a view there of Tom Hill, second. He's leading the championship. He's had a win outright. He's had a second. He's had 4 thirds, a couple of 4ths, and a 5th. And all of those results have been victories within the V6 trophy. Unfortunately, not a particularly populated class. It's a new class that came in, was it last season, I think? But it hasn't, unfortunately, brought in the cars I think that was hoped.
No, it's a good idea in theory to have that class. Some potentially very interesting machinery could be out there, but I guess it needs people to build cars for it.
1 minute 12 is the lead gap, 10 seconds. Jamie Thwaites was quicker than Tom Hill on that lap. There's the Alfa 4C of Mike Hilton. This is his second lap, I think, since visiting the pits. He's running in 11th position, but is set to score important points for the modified class championship.
The last lap ball has just gone out to Jamie Thwaites there, so he is on to his 12th and final lap of the race in the Giulietta TCR.
He's just lapped Dave Messenger, who's being caught pretty rapidly by Mark Skeggs for third place. The gap is 6 seconds, but on that lap, Skeggs was 3 seconds quicker, which won't quite be enough.
No.
But now we're down to 2 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, and quite a long gap between them as well. It was minute 12, I think you said last time through. I'd probably be minute 20. I mean, if it'd gone another probably 2 or 3 laps, we might have had just Jamie Thwaites lapping the whole field here. Such is his dominance, and that of the car really. It's the TCR cars are sort of well proven, aren't they? And generally speaking, quite reliable. And yeah, he's gone very well here throughout the weekend. I think he was a little bit disappointed not to have had more competition yesterday, so I suspect he'll have the same kind of feeling today when Andy McEwen goes down to talk to him at the end of the race. But yeah, you can only beat what is put in front of you, can't you? And Jamie Thwaites has had 2 very good drives this weekend.
And it's been on the back of a couple of troublesome meetings. So the car broke at Cadwell Park in qualifying, and then had a stall, and then that problem couldn't be resolved to compete in the second race as well at Brands Hatch last time out. So he'll be pleased it's just run smoothly, I'm sure. And I think he was saying to Andy yesterday that he's sort of getting the hang of it now, because it's very different to the big, powerful sports cars that Jamie Thwaites tends to race. So this front-wheel drive touring car, very different car, but he's drove it well over the course of the last 2 days at Donington.
Yeah, and here he is up to the line to take the checkered flag and win round 10 of the Hitek Electronic Materials Alfa Romeo Championship. So Jamie Thwaites, a very comfortable winner. There you can see Adrian Norman going through in 4th place, and he's just done another new fastest lap. He's reduced the lap record into the 41s, a 1:41.41 on the final lap of the race. He was really pushing all the way to the checkered flag. There we could see Dave Messenger's gone through in 3rd place. Mark Skeggs has gone through in 4th place overall. So Messenger also 2nd within the V6 class. Here is Stacey Dennis. She is going to take 5th position and a win in the Power Trophy class, continuing her clean sweep within that categorisation. And so a very good season for Stacey. And then we've still got, I think, James Ford to come through to win in the Twin Spark Cup. But there is Mike Hilton, who's going to be 11th place eventually, and for points 4th in the modified class after his visit to the pits in the middle stages of that race. Here is the number 23 of James Ford, and he crosses the line now to take the checkered flag and win the Twin Spark Cup once again in this Hitek Electronic Materials Alfa Romeo Championship, and he's beaten his brother Richard, number 9, in the end by about 4 seconds or so.
He has lost at that fastest lap point during the course of that race, James Ford, because Toby Broom got into 1:57s in the end, set in the fastest lap. So he's not quite on maximum score, but scoring more points than Tom Hill, who crosses the line there.
Yeah, he takes 2nd place. He wins the V6 class. There is Andy Page as well. He is in 8th place, 3rd within the modified class, and completing, I think, all of the finishes then is the number 78 car of Edward Robinson, who finishes on the podium in the Twin Spark Cup class in this penultimate event of the season for the Hitek Electronic Materials Alfa Romeo Championship. So I think with all of the cars across the line, we should be able to give you a summary of the results of that race then. I'll just see if we can bring those to you in a second. We've got plenty more racing to come. We'll get the results back. There we go. Jamie Thwaites, it was, number 40, that took the win then at the end of 12 laps. He finished 1:34.45 seconds clear of number 75, Tom Hill, in 2nd place. So an even bigger victory margin than yesterday. 3rd place went the way of number 79, Dave Messenger. He was a lap down. 4th to number 59, Mark Skeggs. 5th to number 30, Stacey Dennis, who won her class. 6th to number 23, James Ford, who won his. 7th was number 9, Richard Ford. 8th was number 14, Andy Page. 9th was 78, Edward Robinson. And rounding out the top 10 was number 54, Adrian Norman. And as we've said, the Alfa Romeo Championship concludes at Silverstone 5 weeks hence, the end of October. So we still have 6 races to come for you here today at Donington Park, with historic 750 Formula up next. But we're going to head down to the pit lane now. Andy McEwen is ready to speak to our race winner, and that, of course, was Jamie Thwaites.
Indeed so, Ian. Yeah, Jamie's just arrived behind me and getting out of the car after another dominant performance there in the Alfa Romeo Championship. And, well, yesterday he said he had a couple of niggly little issues to deal with as the race goes on. He's thrown his sunglasses around. In disgust. You've not a lot to be disgusted about. You take your helmet off first. We'll have a little chat with you in a second. Still waiting, actually, for the rest of them to make their way in. I think we're now starting to get a couple of the others making their way towards us. We should hopefully get Tom Hill, the V6 class winner and second place finisher overall, and Dave Messenger expected down here shortly as well. But one or two of them, I think, taking their time on their way back into the pit lane. But Jamie Thwaites, not taking your time at all. You ran away with that one again, rather. Yesterday you said you had a couple of niggly little things going on. Was the car a bit better behaved today?
Same thing to begin with, to be honest. The same gear problems.
Oh, really?
But it then went away, so yeah, no, it was all right.
Well, that's good news. So sometimes these problems, especially if they're electronic or something, they can resolve themselves. And from there, able to just relax, enjoy yourself. There's your winner's garland. You take hold of that and the winner's cap as well. Yeah, able to just enjoy yourself on what looked to be a drying track. Is it fully dry out there yet?
Do you know what the racing line is? Nearly flat through the Craner curves, just the tiniest of lifts. But I've got the old front tyres on now, so it was just pushing a little bit. And I just thought, you know what, I don't want to push too hard, then grip up and we end up spinning down the road. So, yeah.
More racing to come still in 2023. You got Silverstone out on the Grand Prix circuit as well. Are you back for that one?
Yeah, now, I mean, this is the first year I've driven this car, so each round I'm getting quicker and quicker. I'm exponentially quicker than I was at Silverstone at the beginning. So, yeah, it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to taking it to the others, especially Barry.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have Barry back for that one. Congratulations, though, Jamie Thwaites, double race victor here at Donington Park. Tom Hill stood behind me, and Tom, another V6 class victory, second of the weekend. Good news for the championship there.
Yeah, it's looking good. I'm feeling good. As I say, it was just a case of capitalising on what we'd kind of built earlier on in the weekend. As always, thanks to Revs Italia, you know, really, really good support all weekend, you know, particularly with the sort of tricky start to the previous race, trying to change tyres, kind of, you know, playing musical wheel guns. But yeah, no, it was a great race. Thank you.
Was there any temptation to try and stick some wet tyres on for the restarted race, or did you know slicks were the way to go?
I'm always in favour of slicks, even when it is raining. So yeah, you know, it's a case of just trying to pick what's going to be quickest, really. And I always try and favour the slick tyre because you know it's going to be the faster tyre. And fortunately, it paid off. So all good, all good.
Good stuff. Well done, Tom. Then a double victory in the V6 class. And over this way, I think we should be able to find Dave Messenger, who has. Where is Dave? No, Dave isn't here. Never mind. Only two cars, so no sign of Dave Messenger, unfortunately. Perhaps just as well, though, because we don't have that long to go before our next race gets underway. It's the Race Parts Historic 750 Formula Championship. One or two of them already, I'm afraid, running into mechanical problems, but the rest of them grinning up now ahead of their first race of the day.